And on this episode, we're back. We're going to talk Cowboys, where they stand, what they're doing. Mavs season's about a week away before the preseason starts. And we're going to party. Play the music. Welcome to the Goal Line Fade. I am Zach, your host, with my RB1 Brian. We are back after a little break, and we're ready to rock and roll, talk some Dallas Cowboys football and some Mavericks as well. I think we're going to get started with a little Maverick action since there's not a whole lot of basketball things to talk about quite yet. So before we get to it, Brian, man, it's been a minute. How are you doing? I know your fantasy team's not doing too well, but besides that, how are we doing?
It's been a rough 3 weeks, fantasy and otherwise. As you know, I don't want to go into a ton of it, but I've been having some health stuff with some crazy headaches and whatever. Went to a neurologist today. Hopefully got that sorted out. My fantasy team is 0-3, and I'm just depressed. But basketball is near. My Cowboys are doing well, so that's where I'm at. How about you? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I had the most insane fantasy football win involving the Dallas Cowboys of all time on Monday. It was very weird. I'm in 3 leagues. So one league, I was up by 29 going against Dak and the kicker for the Cowboys, Zerline, but I had Zeke and CeeDee Lamb. So I was feeling good about that, right? My other league, I had Hurts. And I was not wanting to have to root for Hurts to do well against the Cowboys, but I was already up by 20. He was done, so won that one. And then against Mitch in our league, our buddy Mitch, I'm up by 26.8 points. And Zeke needed to score 27 to win. And Zeke scored 26.6 points. I won by 0.08.
You've had, in our league, you have definitely had some hairline finishes and
Wild.
losses. Yeah, that's
wild. Oh yeah, wild, man. I couldn't believe it. I for sure I thought I was done. I think completely out of it. But besides that, man, I've been good. I got my been having a lot of fun with 2K. I got my sealed copy as well.
Nice.
Of NBA 2K ready to rock, and still waiting I haven't ordered anything quite yet. I think I'm going to wait till after the holidays and all that. So March-ish, February-ish, I'm going to get something to get this hung. I'm probably going to get my Luka rookie card shadow boxed with it.
Sure.
Kind of make its own little thing is the plan. So excited about that. But yeah, it's if you like basketball and franchises, holy shit. NBA 2K is Madden did good with their franchise this year, but this is like whole nother level type stuff. Like you can customize your sports stickers in it, like what stats you're going in and everything. It's very, very, very nifty for sure.
That's cool. That's awesome.
It's good stuff. But other than that, been fine. The family's been good. We went to the fair, been hanging out. Everybody's healthy, which is good. At these times.
How was the fair?
The fair was a madhouse.
Yeah.
It was but it was fine. Everybody was behaved, and we had a good time. I had 2 corny dogs and the fried PB&J.
Ooh,
man, that thing is good.
It's delicious. It's heavy. It's like eating a fried brick, but it is delicious.
Yeah, I had 2 corn dogs, 2 beers, fried peanut butter jelly sandwich, and half a funnel cake in 20 minutes.
Oh man,
I felt it. I have my Invisalign. Sure. 2 weeks left, by the way.
Oh,
look
nice.
at this.
Ooh, they're looking nice.
Yeah, 2 weeks left. But yeah, I ate all of that as fast as I could so I could pop my Invisalign back in. And man, I was not.
Yeah,
I was feeling really bad.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fair guy. However, my wife loves it, so I do get cajoled into going once a year. It's kind of a tradition at this point. And the truth be told, I'm being a whiny little girl about it. The truth is, I don't hate it that much. I really like to complain to her about it a little bit, but
right.
We've kind of got going to the fair down to a science. We hit all the things that she needs to hit to feel good about the trip. get out of there quick enough for me not to be absolutely miserable. And I get to check out the new cars, because that's the only thing I really care about.
It was cool. The Black Pumas were performing for a free show. So we watched the Black Pumas perform that evening. That's why Tara wanted to go. My wife, so bad. That was really fun. And then we did the car show as well.
Sure.
And the petting zoo. And then we did like the Ferris wheel and then like a haunted ride. And that was it. Just kind of walked around, hung out. So that's fun. That's
cool.
Fun.
Nice.
So let's get to basketball.
Yes.
The Mavs had their media day yesterday. We're recording this podcast on Wednesday. And one of the big takeaways I have right now is they're saying all the right things, especially with KP. It's come out in the last week that Porzingis was requesting a trade or wanted to be traded after the season ended, which is no surprise. We wanted him traded, so it's not surprising that happened. Obviously, I think the change in leadership from coach to GM changed his mind, and he's also a smart guy too. He knows being traded, if he's playing well, is also good for him. So I'll give him that. So like we've talked about on this podcast with Porzingis, when you and I changed our tone on him, if he plays well, we win regardless.
Yep.
Because we move on from him and get a good return, or he's very good and wants to be here and we're a very good team.
No matter what, if he plays bad, we lose. And if he starts playing well, or like if we trade him now, we lose. If he plays bad into the season, we lose. But if he plays even just as well as he did for the bulk of the regular season, that's a win. And, if we can get him to where he's averaging 20-10 or 20-8, we can trade him for solid assets at that point.
And they're wanting to use him in the post.
Yeah.
They're wanting to do all the things that we would want him to do. So I'm very intrigued. I know Rick played to the strengths of what roster we had with the 3-pointers and such, right? So I'm intrigued and I'm excited to see kind of where we go with this, but that should work.
Sure.
Luka, one thing I noticed is skinny. He looks good. Yeah. I know there was a viral image of him hitting a hookah after the Olympics. Whatever, man. The man went to the Olympics and played as well. But Luka looks good. Somebody did a side-by-side picture comparing him now to last season when they went, and it's like 15 to 20 pound difference. You can just tell in the face.
Yeah,
what slimmer he is, which is good.
Jawline. Oh yeah.
Which is good, because that was one of the gripes last year was slow starts, man. You look last year, not to say they would have fared better in the playoffs with any situation, and everything happens for a reason. But man, without that, if the COVID issue doesn't happen and the slow start, they might have been the 3rd or 4th seed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So. I mean, COVID affected everybody, right? It was a fucked off season for everybody, but you could make a strong argument that the Mavericks were negatively impacted by COVID as much or more than any team in the league. And then, the slow start on top of it, if you reverse those two, I mean, there's a chance, because with those two things, you also would build some momentum. So you could argue there'd be other wins that they might've gotten aside from just those that they lost in those periods, that they could end up as high as a 2 seed even at that.
Well, they got swept by Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Didn't that happen?
Yeah.
Like, I think my biggest issue with the COVID was not, like, I agree with the way the NBA was handling it.
Sure.
I don't understand what made them say, hey, Washington, you're taking a week off. Dallas,
it wasn't consistent.
You're playing through it. That was kind of interesting, but that's neither here nor there at this point. I'm actually going to the preseason opener next week on Wednesday versus Utah. I'm taking Hudson, so I'm excited to see that. They'll probably play the starters. It looks like they only have 4 preseason games or 3.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that we're going to get to see some starter action, which will be really fun. I know we're looking forward to that. So then I wanted to touch on. Oh yeah, you can go.
I was going to say, just a quick side note. After the media day, I really like Reggie Bullock. I do.
Yeah,
I like
he's gonna be a good ad, man.
Yeah.
Josh Richardson, I was really high on as well.
Sure.
And it just wasn't a fit for this team and the coaching. I don't think it just didn't vibe him. So
yeah, and
wish him well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have he handled a shitty situation like a pro. So best of luck to him. Hope he kills it.
Yeah.
Except for whenever he's playing us, of course.
He's on the Celtics. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing I want to touch about NBA wise. So about 90% of the league is vaccinated right now. Is the number. There is 15 players a team. There's 30 teams, correct?
Yep.
Or is it 32?
30.
30. So that is, I don't know the math off the top of my head. That's
450. 450.
450 players. So that means there's 75 players that aren't vaxxed.
Yeah, give or take.
About three guys a team. Something like that.
Yeah.
So there's 3 stadiums that aren't allowing you to play. It's Golden State, Brooklyn, and New York.
New York, yeah.
So Kyrie Irving is not vaccinated. Said he's not getting vaccinated.
Shocking.
And Andrew Wiggins is the other one. They obviously can't play any of their home games. Wiggins even asked for an appeal from the NBA, and they said no. To my knowledge, I was trying to do some research on this to see who on the Mavs. Apparently, Trey Burke is the only one not vaccinated.
Okay.
And he's literally, I think, the 15th man on the roster.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how the preseason and camp and everything else goes, who knows? I mean, it's conceivable that he won't be on the roster. I don't think.
No, I would prefer LaFemme Nikita taking his minutes because of his defensive prowess and 40% 3-point shooter on catch and shoot threes.
Absolutely.
Personally, because we need defenders that are out there, not Trey Burke.
No,
but yeah, that's interesting. So if the finals ends up being Golden State versus Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving is not able to play.
That would make me so happy. That would truly.
They're not getting paid, and players aren't getting paid either.
I know. Yeah, it's going to have roster implications for some teams because if you're Brooklyn, what good is he doing you? Seriously, he is doing.
Trade him.
Yeah, because he's gonna. That means that he's gonna play in a total of 40 games because the 2 that maybe actually less than that because they're gonna be playing the Knicks fairly. They're in conference.
Yeah, they'll play them 4 times, and they'll play Golden State once.
Yeah,
no, twice.
Twice. Yeah. So then at that point, yeah, he's gonna play in about 38 games.
And then he's always injured for about 10 games.
Absolutely. So, 25 games realistically.
That's crazy.
Again, he can't be happy about only getting 25 games pay. So I could absolutely see that shaking up the roster.
He might retire. He's an odd bird. Like I'm all for standing what you believe in, but he's odd. Like last year, anytime there was like an incident involving like civil rights or anything, it's like he just would go away.
Yeah.
And hey, man, I'm not believe what you believe in, but the other players were playing, and he would just like, okay, I'm not playing, personal reasons, and he'd miss like 2 or 3 games every time.
Dude, this
very weird.
If we have some listeners that get offended by what I'm about to say, I apologize, but you know what? I take that back. I don't apologize for this. He lost me, and it has nothing to do with the vaccines. Get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. I couldn't care less. That is not a hill I'm going to die on. But Kyrie Irving is a flat earther, or at least was a flat earther, at least gave significant amounts of time of his life believing the flat earth theory. And the moment that happened, I have no sympathy, pity, or anything good to say about or for that guy. Sorry. That's it. That's my rule of thumb. If you are a flat earther, I have no pity for you. I bye. No patience for it.
It's very odd. It really is. But whatever, dude. I didn't want to go too much into it. It's a hot topic right now.
Sure.
To me, this was probably the darkest. It's crazy too, because the NBA got canceled, and then the NBA did the bubble, and then the NBA was back like really quick after that, right? On a shortened season.
Super quick.
And
then again, super quick.
This was a very dark media day because of those. It's like almost everything was about vaccinated. It took a lot away from what I think the NBA is about and can be. But as a Mavs fan, I'm happy that we don't have an issue.
Yeah.
It's intriguing to see how this pans out with other players, because I know like Brooklyn, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, was talking about extensions with Kyrie and Harden. I would imagine that those talks are completely on hold now. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued to see how that goes, you know?
Yeah. It could and should and probably will get pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's roll into football now. Okay.
Yes, let's.
So the Cowboys, man, one of the best fights I've seen, you know, blow for blow week 1 versus Tampa. Didn't have enough juice to close it out, but it was a great game.
Our
Proved
kicker
that
cost us that game.
yeah, CeeDee Lamb and the kicker.
Yeah,
CeeDee
CeeDee Lamb and the kicker.
It was, you know, blow for blow hung in there with Tampa, right? For me, I know that when we first did our predictions, you and I were flip-flopped. You thought we'd lose to the Chargers and beat the Bucks. I thought the reverse. Well, I changed my tone after DeMarcus Lawrence getting injured, after the COVID situation. Just there were a lot of things that maybe changed my tone where I felt like we were going to start 0-2.
Yeah.
The Chargers are legit.
They are.
Justin Herbert's looking like MVP candidate, legit.
Dude, they thumped the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They thumped the Chiefs.
And we beat them in another thriller.
Yeah.
It was it was a really, really good game. Came down to a field goal at the end. We almost time management almost got the best of us.
I have a feeling we'll get into time management here, and I have a feeling that'll be a topic.
Almost got the best of us there, but we were able to pull it off. And then here we are. You know, the Eagles. That game was really never competitive.
Yeah.
It was a fluke touchdown at the very beginning, and then it was just. I never felt like the Eagles had a chance at all.
Well, so the fluke touchdown that they scored early on, like you said, was, you know, just ridiculous. But on top of it, Dak got robbed of a touchdown because that was a touchdown, you know. And another
it should have been like 21-7, 28 to something crazy at some point.
Yeah, and another thing we can get into or not get into, it's entirely up to you. But just throwing this out there, at some point, the NFL, which is the most profitable and most successful American sports league in the country, really needs to step into the 21st century and get the sensors in the balls like tennis has.
They can put a chip in there. It's pretty easy.
You put a chip on each end of the ball, and that's it. You know where the ball is at all times.
You put a chip. You put a chip on the little orange pylons. Yeah, you know.
And
you don't have to put them even in the grass. You just put them on the pylons.
On the pylons.
The vector, man.
Yeah. It's not rocket science. And then we don't ever have to talk about this ever again.
Yeah, that was bad. That was definitely, I mean, it doesn't matter in the great scheme of things, but that was a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a touchdown. And if this was if this had happened in week 1 or 2, it would have been a huge fucking deal.
Well, what's weird to me, like when I think about what is or isn't a touchdown, right? For our listeners, if something's called a touchdown, the chances of it staying a touchdown are pretty good because it's got to be inconclusive. So this wasn't initially called a touchdown even to begin with. They said it was dead, so the movement wasn't there. So on the flip side, if they would have called a touchdown, it wouldn't have been reversed because there wasn't enough evidence. What baffles my mind is that I knew Zeke wasn't in right away on the passing play.
Sure.
Like before.
You could see it.
I was like, that's not a touchdown.
Yeah, no, it's clear.
And, you know, and I'm like, that was it. And sure enough, they did it and they called it a touchdown. And then they reviewed it and his knee was down and, you know, the rest is history. But it's interesting to me, like, why that would be something that you're immediately instantaneously like touchdown. But then on the other, you don't. I don't get. I'm not a ref, so I don't get that. I don't know how that.
Well, here's the problem, and I don't mean this as an insult to the refs. I mean the problem is you're thinking about it logically, and logic is not the issue here. It's just a human error thing. They're having to watch, so they're taking in so much information at one time and trying to process it quickly. And the truth is, man, no ref gets it all right. They just don't. It's not possible, which is why in today's age, there is no good reason not to have the chips in the ball. There's a number of things that they could do. That's just the first one that is blatantly obvious. Just get us up to the 21st century. You've got multiple teams that are worth over $1 billion. Get it the fuck together.
And And also on top of that, give us the Madden cam more. That thing is badass when they do the behind the quarterback camera angle, like the way you get to see the passing lanes.
Do it with a drone, man. Do it with a fucking
and then
drone.
why do we get these amazing 4K looking camera angles after a touchdown scored?
Yeah.
And it's so crystal clear, but they can't do the game like that yet. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
No, there's a lot for, especially for a sport that is A, as big as it is, and B, so TV centric, right? Like there is no sport more TV centric than the NFL,
right,
in our country. And it leaves a lot to be desired that could very easily be fixed. Like we were just saying, have a drone behind the court. You could have, it doesn't have to be, you don't need 30 drones on the field flying all around. It doesn't have to be like that. You know, one up high, one behind the quarterback, maybe one back there around mid, where the safeties are going to line up about 20 yards deep in the defense. That would be amazing to switch between those things. And I could even see someone arguing against the drone back by the safeties because maybe it's going to get in the way of an offensive pass. Okay, fine. But there's no reason not to have one behind the quarterback. No one's throwing it back 20 yards. So put a camera there and put a chip in the ball.
For our listeners, I'm experimenting with a camera so you can see this if I'm, or a light, excuse me. You can see this if I'm on the green glare on my glasses is like making me go batty over here.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think, are you afraid of the dark?
Yeah, I was going to say that looks very campfirey.
Yeah, but yeah. I'll figure it out. I'm trying to make my lighting better for our YouTube peeps, but it's a work in progress. Maybe I'll sit like this. There's no glare when you just look at my forehead and I talk to you on the camera this way. Does that terrific. Work? Yeah. For our listeners, they don't get the beauty of my forehead. My dog's looking at me like I'm crazy right now, but that seems to work. I'll just be really close.
Yeah,
really close. Yeah.
Yeah.
But awesome. As a Cowboy fan, I'm ecstatic. Man, I've never seen 2-3-0 teams that I believe less than ever in Carolina and Denver, by the way.
Yep.
I think that the Cowboys are going to just rock Sam Darnold's big-headed lunch on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of here for it. We'll be 3-1 and they'll be 3-1. And we've got a nice, man. I don't think Atlanta's going to handle business for us, but But Giants got the Saints, and I do believe Washington is playing. Who is Washington playing?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Is it? It's Atlanta. I just said that. You're right. Yeah, Eagles play the Chiefs, so I don't think the Eagles. Okay. Washington plays Atlanta.
That's right. Yeah.
So Atlanta has a chance. They actually got a win versus the Giants, which was also good. So we'll see what happens. There's a good chance that we could have a tremendous lead in the division.
Well, and it, at least so far, granted, Fitzpatrick hasn't been there for much of the season, but the big thing with the football team that's so surprising is their defense has been boo-boo. No, that was the thing that was supposed to be, their rock that was supposed to carry them, and that defense has been. And
this
that's
is
amazing.
A get right game versus Matt Ryan. They'll sack him like 6 times.
Yeah,
and Matt
absolutely.
Ryan will throw an interception.
Yeah, absolutely. You can rattle Matt Ryan for sure. But still, even if they quote unquote get right, they still don't have a quarterback. Even when Fitzpatrick, I was a little concerned. Maybe they were going to be better than I thought they were. They're not. It ain't happening. And Philly.
When we talked about it, I was always 7 to 8 wins.
Yeah.
New York was the team I thought we might be sleeping on just a little bit. If Philly, I had no faith in, and then I started after week 1. I was like, wait a minute, maybe we slept on them a little bit, but no, we didn't. Atlanta was just bad.
No, yes, Atlanta is just bad. I still think Philly is better. Philly is better than I thought they were gonna be. That doesn't say a lot because I thought they were going to be absolutely terrible.
Well, they're about to lose to the Chiefs, and then when do they pull the plug on Hurts, man? I mean, they're going to. It's going to happen.
Well, the question, the problem is who are you going to put in place with him? I mean,
well, it's just if you're tanking, it's kind of like look last year, for instance, with the Jags. We'll use the Jags as an example, right?
Yeah.
The Jags won the first game of the year and then didn't win another game after that, right? Well, Gardner Minshew really wasn't playing terrible. He wasn't great, but he wasn't like sucking. Like we'll like compare it to like fantasy relevance. He was a borderline starter for fantasy. You almost could rock him as your quarterback, right?
Sure.
And I know fantasy isn't end all be all. It is not football, but that tells you statistically he was doing okay. And I want to say they played 3 different quarterbacks last year. There's a time when you are 1-7, 1-8, 2-8 that you just say it's time to evaluate what we have. You know, we know Flacco's not worth it, but we know they did trade for Gardner Minshew, so he is there. So maybe they change the system, institute the system, see if they have something there heading into what probably doesn't even matter anyway, because it's probably a quarterback draft pick if you're picking top 3 anyway. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes. I mean, it's good for the Cowboys if that is the direction they go, because it means they're not going to be trying to win.
No.
You know, the players are still going to bust their ass. Don't get me wrong.
But
the players and the coaches are still going to try to coach, but they make unfortunate decisions that the Eagles have already shown that with their bad ownership, they meddle. Yeah. Like last year, Hurts came in and beat fucking the Saints his first game, who was a very good football team, then lost. Then they benched him for some quarterback who's not even on the roster anymore, so they could tank the season away at the very end and get better draft position. So they've already proven that they are willing to do that kind of nonsense. So
yeah, no, there's no doubt that they're a terribly run organization.
Lulu agrees. My puppy agrees.
She's absolutely right. I don't know. We'll see if they give up on Hurts or not. Because the other problem is if you tank, there's not a consensus top tier quarterback at the top of the draft.
I would not give up on Hurts.
I wouldn't either. I think it's going to take time. Like his closest comparable, I think, is Dak. Honestly, not now Dak, but Dak is a rookie. It's just going to take. He's notorious for like grinding and putting in the work and all that other stuff. It's just going to take him. He was further back than Dak was and doesn't have nearly as good a team as Dak did around him.
Hey man, they ran the ball 2 times, bro. The Eagles on the Monday Night Football game, the Eagles ran the ball twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Sirianni ain't the guy.
You can't win running the ball twice.
No.
I mean, the Cowboys proved that. We didn't win versus the Bucks. We were afraid to almost. Now, don't get me wrong, they adjusted beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right call.
Patriot. Yeah.
It was the right. But that's not the case with the Cowboys.
Right.
You know, our defense is not the Tampa Bay defense, that unpenetrable brick wall. They should have.
And you look at the weapons. You've got Schultz, you've got Jarwin, you had Gallup, you have Amari Cooper, you had CeeDee Lamb, you have Pollard, you have Zeke. You can go pass heavy, you can go run heavy like they did versus the Eagles. The Eagles have 2 tight ends. One's kind of washed. One's never really emerged to his potential. You have a rookie wide receiver who I think is good, but he's trying to figure it out, so he's not going to be great right now. Yeah. And then you have a bunch of other guys who are just kind of meh. Yeah. You know, it's you have Miles Sanders, who's a very damn good running back. You kind of got to run, dude. But I'm kind of glad they didn't. It made it easier on us. So
absolutely. And look, I want to move on from the Eagles because something you said is something I want to discuss about the Cowboys, if you don't mind.
Sure.
We talked just now. We were talking about how in week 1 against Tampa, we threw the ball 52 times. And then week 2, we ran the ball a whole lot. We did not throw the ball much. And then this last week was a little bit more of a balanced approach. The defense is doing the same thing, by the way, which is I'm so ecstatic about this. I've been asking for this for 10 years. The entire Jason Garrett time. Jason Garrett's mindset and mantra was very old school, which is we're going to have this thing that we do. We're going to do it well. We're going to do it better than everybody else. We're going to execute, and that's how we're going to win. And that's great when your team has the roster of the 92 Cowboys, where you are just more talented across the board than everybody else. Because it doesn't matter if everyone knows what you're going to do. They can't stop you. We are taking the Patriots approach, the amoeba approach, which is what do you want us to do? Because we'll take whatever you want to give us. If you want to play 2 high safeties, we'll run the ball. You want to drop a safety down, we'll throw the ball. whatever you are going to give us, we're going to take it, and we'll be good enough at it to beat you. I love it. It's amazing. Thank God we're doing it.
Yeah, no, it's Kellen Moore's offensive play calling has been very, 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 very good so far. And on defense, man, Dan Quinn,
Yeah.
hallelujah. Am I right? Micah
Yeah.
Parsons has been just everything that I thought that he was going to be when we got him. And I've been glaring about it ever since, maybe even better than I expected.
Dude, and not even just him, but Osa Odigizua has been incredible. Oh, by the way, the 4 safeties that we have on our roster, 3 of which are new to this team, we're paying collectively. If you add them all together, it's like $27 and a pack of spearmint gum is their total salary combined. And we're getting borderline Pro Bowl level safety play. Oh, and Trayvon Diggs is a baller.
Yeah. Dude, well, he's held Keenan Allen to less than 60 yards, Mike Evans to less than 50 yards. And then who was it this week? It was Devonta Smith. He got 23 yards.
23 yards. Pick, with he's tied. He's leading the league. Yeah, he's leading the league in interceptions.
Won a game.
Yeah, won a game. And he is tied for the lead in the league in pass deflections. That's spectacular. And
there's no DeMarcus Lawrence.
No, yeah, dude. I mean, our defense.
Neville Gallimore is not activated yet.
Yeah, Neville Gallimore was out. DeMarcus Lawrence was out. Oh my God. The other
Neil had COVID last week, so he was not activated.
And what's the other defensive end's name? Dorrance Armstrong was out. And our boss man Fat, our rookie corner, who, given the circumstance, would have been very useful. He hasn't been playing. We are down.
Yeah, I think 2 of them are eligible to come back this week.
No,
week 4. Is
not yet.
IR?
No. So, okay. So McCarthy did a press conference today. He did his daily press conference and he talked about it. They would be eligible to come back after this week's game. No, I'm sorry. This week. You're right. But they're not going to come back. They're all, quote, a few weeks away. They're still healing. So, but once they let them start practicing, which will probably be next week or the week after, then they have 21 days to activate them and actually have them start playing again. So we'll probably, my guess from what he said is Boss Man Fat is the furthest out. We'll probably won't see him till week 6 or 7. But
so after the bye, probably.
Yeah, give or take, right around there. But then Neville Gallimore he'll probably start practicing after this game, and we'll probably see him in week 5 or 6.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's a lot to be excited about if you're a Cowboys fan. They are good. They are very good. They've proved that they could hang in there with Tampa. And for me, from what I've seen with my eyes, I think Tampa, I think Rams and the Packers will be the 3 elite, and the Cowboys are right there with them. I think that's your 4. I think that's your powerful. I don't think the Panthers are for real. No. The Vikings could go on a run, man. I know they started 0-2, but I still think they're going to be a fringe playoff team. I think they're going to be okay, and they got a lot of firepower on that team for sure if they're healthy. Yeah. But I really don't believe in anybody else in the NFC. Like Carolina, it's fool's gold to me. New Orleans, I don't like it. That is the most funky 2-1 I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I don't buy New Orleans. The only team that I think could rear its head is Seattle. I'm whatever.
We'll see, dude.
But dude, are you counting Russ out this early? I'm not.
That division is fucked up, dude.
It is.
Like for instance, if the Rams, for instance, if they beat the Cardinals this week, and if they can split it's going to be hard to see because Seattle's already lost 2 and once to Minnesota. Minnesota's going to be fighting for that playoff spot with them. So that's something you got to take into. It's a tiebreaker already that they've got. So the little things like that is why I'm not too confident. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man.
I don't buy the Cardinals, by the way.
I don't either. No. I think the Cardinals are good. Yep. I think they're going to be a very good 500-ish, 7-9 win team. I think the Rams are going to dismantle them this week. Kyler Murray will probably get no touchdowns and throw 2 pick sixes or something crazy, and the sky will be falling. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" I think Kyler Murray is a good football player, but I think Aaron Donald's going to destroy him.
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray's biggest problem is not Kyler Murray, it's his head coach. I'm not a fan of his head coach or the system that they run at all.
Yeah, no.
Fucking
Their
D-bag
defense is
McGee.
better though. Their
Oh no,
defense
yeah.
is better for sure.
Well, it ought to be. They have some incredible talent on that offense. You know, I mean, they're not there with the Cowboys, but they're not too far behind, you know, as far as talent wise, the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bucks, that kind of tier offense talent wise, they're right there with them. I mean, Kyler Murray.
You know what, man? JJ Watt playing next to Chandler Jones is it's pretty beastly, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they have an interesting defense. You know, it's crazy. You know, it's not traditional at all. And they blitz like crazy and they just do some really interesting stuff.
But who's the linebacker that I wanted last year that they drafted? He's like the Swiss Army knife. He's really starting to do.
It's not Hassan Reddick because that was the Swiss Army knife from like 4 years ago that they wasted. I forget
his name.
They wasted, but he I know who you're talking about. Yeah. He played it from Clemson. Isaiah.
Win.
Isaiah. Give me a second. It's going to drive me crazy.
Anywho, those three players are doing great. So, but yeah, that's how the NFC shakes out. I'm never going to rule out Russ, dude. And that offense is good. I think Pete Carroll is just, I don't even know. I'm just
Isaiah Simmons.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was that. So I was happy getting Micah Parsons because I wanted that draft's version of Micah Parsons the year before.
Yeah, absolutely. In a different way. He's a lot more coverage oriented. But you know, Micah Parsons is turning out to be an absolute monster because it turns out that Penn State wasn't using him as effectively as he could have been. They were just letting him play like Sean Lee and LeVar Arrington. And it turns out he can play like TJ Watt and he can also play like Luke Kuechly. You know, I mean, he's incredible. I was wrong. I will take that one on the chin. But it's because Penn State never showed it. It wasted his entire career.
Well, let's look at this. I want to close with kind of a prediction here. Okay. So it's funny too, because it's not even really a prediction because we kind of said it. You know, I have emphatically said over and over that I thought the Cowboys were going to have one or two losses going to their bye, and things could get murky when they play the Chiefs.
Yeah.
To me, that is the turning point of the year because I think because the Cowboys are who they are with hype, personalities with Jerry, I think that if they're billed as a Super Bowl contender in a Super Bowl preview playing the Chiefs here in 5, 6, 7 weeks, I think they'll believe that. And if they get their asses kicked, which, hey, any given Sunday, but if that's the outcome, which I think it will be, how does the team respond to that kind of ass kicking? Then a short week right behind it. So we have the Panthers, we have the Giants,
win,
and we have the Patriots,
win.
So they're going to be 5. Yeah, is that 5-1? 5-1, and that heading.
They ought to be 5-1.
They come back from the bye. They have the Vikings, the Broncos, the Falcons, and then the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, they could be, what is that, 9-1?
8-2. 8-2 is what I predicted. I predict they're either going to lose to the Broncos or to the Vikings. I don't know which one.
I don't know. As of right now, here's my thing. The Vikings, the problem I have is I think we can handle the Vikings. I really do. Their offense is solid. They could be an offense similar to ours because they have a couple of great wide receivers, a solid tight end, and an unbelievable running back, and they run block as well as any team in the league. But their defense is not even as good as ours. They're not as opportunistic as ours. They're not as effective as ours. And our offense, we can put up 40 on them, no problem. I don't know.
No, I believe it. I just know the way football works. So there's going to be a loss in there somewhere. There
absolutely will.
So when we get to the Chiefs, here's where it gets interesting because remember we talked about the Raider Thanksgiving game. Yeah. The Raiders are fucking for real, man.
Yeah, they are. They're legit.
They are.
Yeah.
Like that's a team that's 3-0 that I believe in.
Yep.
Derek Carr is playing the best. He's finally like And this is without Jacobs. Jacobs has been injured for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let him get healthy, heal up that turf toe. Then it's the Saints. That looks very winnable now.
It looks winnable, but it also wouldn't
surprise me. Who knows by then, right?
Yeah, they could go on a run.
Wow. Man. Then the Washington football team, then the Giants, then the Washington football team, then the Cardinals, then the Eagles.
So I'm scared of it. While I don't believe that the Cardinals are true contenders, I don't want to play them. So that scares me. Everything else after Thanksgiving sounds like it ought to be a win. I'm not saying it will be. Division games are crazy.
My pessimistic stance, where I thought things could unravel a little bit at the Chiefs game, because I thought we'd be with 2 losses when we play the Chiefs, that would make 3. And then we lose to the Raiders, which is 4. And then I thought we'd drop 3 more games because of all the division games and the Cardinals lined up. My pessimistic 9 stance is looking like it's not going to be a thing. It looks like 13 or 14 in a vacuum right now.
Right now.
Is off of what I know from the first almost quarter of the season.
Yeah.
Is it even considered a quarter? No.
There isn't. I mean, there, it isn't a quarter anymore.
It's interesting, man. I'm very intrigued to see how this all unfolds because wow. Just looking at it, it's like, holy shit, dude. Like that first 2 games was the gauntlet.
Yeah. And then we've got,
and then we'll have another gauntlet with the Chiefs
and Raiders. And then after that, you got the Chargers.
Football team twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And then after that, you've got the only game that really is worrisome is the Cardinals. Everything else, and I'm not saying we're going to win all the everything else games because they're division games and it gets late in the year. And by that point, the Eagles, the Washingtons, and the Giants will all be playing for nothing probably other than to just spoil our season.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, who knows? But we should still win the majority of those games handily. So, health permitting, of course, obviously, health permitting. As long as Dak is healthy, because that's the other thing that this whole first 3 games has really shown, that there's a couple of people on this team that are really tough to replace. Dak. Actually, really, it's probably Dak and Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. And other than that, as long as those 3 guys are healthy, you're probably all right.
Yeah, and I'm loving the tandem of Zeke and Pollard, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Awesome,
beautiful,
awesome. Yeah, because Pollard, in my opinion, Pollard is not meant or built to shoulder the load.
No,
I think that this in spurts that they're using alternating drives and like. Hey, it's like almost like Luka. Like, hey, we take him out with 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. It's like they get to that point in the first quarter. It's like, okay, Pollard the rest of the first, and it's really working, man. I really dig it.
It reminds me of that first year or 2 of when the Saints had Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. It was great. And I agree with you 100%. He's not built to be a primary back. It would be kind of like what happened here whenever we decided to let Marion Barber go and try to have Felix Jones as the primary, and it just no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 100% with you there. Plus, it'll save Zeke for later in the year, the playoffs, when things get cold and you need 4 yards in a cloud of dust. He is that guy. And he is the best pass blocking running back in the history of the league. He's unbelievable at it. So.
Now, he proved that week 1, man.
Dude, yeah.
All these people saying that's one thing. A lot of people are really saying he's not getting it done. He needs to be off the team because, I mean, geez, blocking is important. Like, huge. There's not a stat for it. I get it, but
no, certainly not for running backs. And that doesn't, because he's playing well, doesn't mean that I think he's living up to the contract he's given. That's not the same thing. But we're at the point where we're this far into the season. His money is guaranteed. Arguing and worrying about the money is pointless. Is he playing well? Yes. And anyone who says otherwise is either not watching the game or not being honest.
Sure. So, no, he's doing great.
And
I get anybody who's a hater because of the contract and the whole running backs don't matter, should be invested elsewhere. Well, this is the Jones we're dealing with here, man. Yeah. It's not It's never normal.
No, and it's never gonna be. It never will be. So
Yeah. No, never, never, ever, never, ever, ever.
no.
And I can say never, ever, ever
Yeah.
with emphatic.
Yeah.
Emphatic.
No, at least
fruition.
not in our lifetime, probably. So.
Yeah. No. Nope. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else for the pod?
No, sir. No.
All right. It's good doing this again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Oh, the Rangers still suck. They are terrible. That's all.
I didn't know they were still playing. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Ugh. But yeah, other than that, basketball's around the corner. It's coming into my favorite time of year. I absolutely love October.
October is the best.
Yeah.
April is close with the draft and March Madness and everything.
Sure.
Or March with free agents, everything. But this
All
October,
that,
you got playoff baseball, basketball's back, hockey's starting up, football's in full stride. It's glorious, freaking glorious.
It's and the weather.
It becomes hoodie weather here in Texas.
It's the thing the dreams are made of.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, that's it. Yes, that's it. This is the Goal Line Fade. I'm Zach signing off. Thank you for listening, and we'll be at you next week. Peace.
Bye.